Yeah, Alex, last week y'all made some adjustments to the preparation schedule with the stretch that y'all are in. As you get to this week and the last week before the bye, has there been any differences in that for y'all, especially defensively, and with the way that y'all are playing right now? Normally there might be a tendency to maybe let up a little bit after the end of this long stretch. Does what's happened the last couple of weeks maybe reinforce against that? And how do you keep from maybe taking that breath a little early?
Yeah, I think if you're a competitor at all, and you don't get you get the outcome, but you don't get the how and the standard in terms of how you play right over the course of several weeks. I think if you're a competitor at all, your motivation coming into the following week, the following Monday, following Tuesday, and then so on and so forth, should be just get cranked up another level. I don't know that I've seen that over the last couple of weeks. And so to assume that we're just going to do that now, what's the breaking point? What is that line in the sand, and ultimately you can draw it, but in the end you got to get a group of guys over it and then actually perform up to a standard. So to assume now's the time to change behaviors because we're fatigued with poor performance, it would be an understatement. It's long overdue. And so I think for us right now, it's just from an accountability standpoint. I think every guy in the program has to look at it from, and specific to the defense, has to look at it through the lens of, okay, it's my issue. Specifically Coach Grinch's, but every position coach, every player, and attack the week in the appropriate way to each individual guy get better that way. So I think going into week 9 of the season, you can be are we fatigued and in our being disappointed with performance? Yeah, but ultimately it's a results business, and you got to go get it done. So that fatigue needs to turn into excitement, needs to turn into a chip, needs to turn into ultimate behaviors, which is the preparation to go play our best football game this Saturday. So no, I think for any of us to get ready for a bye week would be very, very naive.
Jason Kersey?
Yeah, Alex, I know so much. You talked a little bit about TFLs after the game. Why do you think you guys have had such a hard time getting pressure on the quarterback?
Yeah, I think it can be a number of different things. I think you can look at it and say, obviously number one, calls at your coach. Okay, what are we calling? Are we calling something different? And if the answer is not, if they're the same calls that produced production prior to, then you say, well, then are you calling it too much? Are you becoming, too predictable that way? And then you look at it from a physicality standpoint. That's so much is included in the front. If a would-be blocker engages you, we have the inability to disengage and ultimately make a play. It can't just be the plays made in the backfield when you're unblocked. It's got to be disengage and go make a play. Or if you're back there, are you getting the individual on the ground? So you look at all those things. I don't think there's a simple answer. I think there's more film. If you stack days, years, and everything else, suggestion that our defensive front is very productive. But that specific week you're not, and so you look at it and say, okay, what are we doing the week prior to? Okay, if it's not scheme, right? And I'm not saying it's not. Then okay, what are we doing now? Are we getting TFLs in practice? And if not, why? Is it effort? Is it one of the things that really challenged the group on, and some of this comes from having experienced players, is are you taking autopilot reps? That's a term we use, autopilot reps in practice, where it's just same as. I know these stunts so well. I know that my gap of responsibility. It just becomes that redundancy of I know where I need to be. And and what I've seen on film, I think there's a little bit of a lack of respect for I may know where I need to be, but I need to make sure that I do it with great strain. Another term we use, great physicality, and great purpose on every single down. Again, it's my responsibility to go make the play. It's not. I don't take a gap. And someone else goes and makes the play. It's my responsibility. And so a willingness to be blocked has been evident on film. which we got to get corrected. And again, there's a lot of examples of us doing it right, and we got to get back to that. And then we got to challenge the guys, which we have and will continue to do over the course of the week of practice. Same thing, challenge ourselves as coaches. How are we allowing that to take place? If they're on autopilot, what can we do to get them off of it? Because inevitably what happens on game day is the speed surprises you at times. The physicality surprises you. Okay, well then you go back to the practice field and say, okay, well we're obviously not practicing the intense enough level to allow those guys to be successful on Saturday. So it comes back to preparation and comes back to intentional focus and reps both through the week and then on Saturdays.
Aaron? Alex, this program's done a lot of big things historically by making obvious improvements as the season has gone forward. Playing your best ball in November is a classic example. It's almost November. Are you seeing, if you're seeing improvement on your defense, where are you seeing it? And if you're not, how alarming is that given the calendar?
I think it's alarming just because there's you're running out of time. I mean, you can talk about, okay, we talk about 1 week evaluations, okay, let's stick to 1 week evaluation. Well, the 1 week evaluation is not good enough. So that's fine, and then so you don't hang on to that, and then in the same token you don't say that that stacking 2 weeks on top of each other, poor performance negates, the ability for any of these guys to play better moving forward. But there's a sense of urgency. There has to be. And I think, for our guys, as you go through a Tuesday practice, I thought there was more intentional work today. It pains me to say that, 9 weeks into the season, to finally see more intentional work. What are we doing wrong as coaches? How am I not landing a message? Again, it's all of our fault. Cool, but I'm the one talking, so it's my fault. It's my fault that I can't inspire and motivate to get guys to play at their best. Obviously you teach scheme, the scheme's installed, and obviously there's adjustments over the course of each individual week. But the chief job as a coach is to inspire and motivate guys to play at an elite level, and continue to fail to do that as the defensive coordinator.
Alex, we talked to Isaiah after he came. He said a short talk with you as you guys were walking off the field about how he's going to help fix it. How much do you lean on guys like Isaiah, Pat, Nick to try to be those leaders to get it fixed? Do you have any extra dialogue with them as I'm saying talking points, like stuff that they can bring up to the other guys in their group?
No, we do, and I think the biggest thing for those guys, how do you help fix situations is be a better practice player. Bring a guy with you. We do so much talking. We have, obviously meetings every day like everybody else, a defensive meeting every single day, a motivational, kind of theme of the week. And embarrassed to mention that because, obviously the messaging, the messaging is right. If it doesn't land, then it doesn't do you a whole lot of good. So let's talk more, 9 weeks into this thing. It's a little bit more, on the side of action, right? And so for those guys, perform better. Be the guy in practice that we got to, say, we can't get a snap off with the scout team if we put you out there. Right? Be that dramatic of an impact there from a practice player standpoint. And obviously subsequently over the course of the game, but be the example, be the actionable example, not one more voice. But certainly that is part of it. But you need your best players playing their best. Right now we're not getting that out of those individuals, and there's certainly some guys stepping up. Keyshawn Lawrence last week, mentioned Pat Fields and mentioned Justin Broyles. They're also the guys that are practicing the best for us right now, and it's not coincidence that way. So no, it's talking, it's challenging your peers, but it's also performing in such a way that you bring guys along with you.
Billy Bowman, you played him at two positions. You seem to really like him at nickel, and I know you needed to play him at corner because of depth and things. What do you see him in his future, and what do you think his best spot is? I think he could play a number of different spots in the secondary. I think he could play safety. I think he certainly can play corner, has elite speed. I think just from he's a football player. He's one of those guys that kind of nothing's too big for him. He understands scheme, understands spacing, can tackle. And so that was kind of a natural role at nickel. Again, obviously having some guys out.
I've had to shuffle the deck a little bit, and so now we'll find the best position for him. Kind of the totality of your career. Kind of those young guys coming in. How can we get you on the field? What's needed for the team, and then ultimately, what's the best position for your career? And so that's obviously ongoing, but needed true freshmen stepping up, and certainly some moments of freshman football, but in any event, he'll just continue to get better. Excited about Billy.
Eric Bailey.
During the course of a football team, you take snaps of the ball for granted. How frustrating was it for you as a coordinator to receive 3 offsides in the first series, and that kind of set the tone maybe for what happened on Saturday?
Well, I mean, I think it speaks to focus. I mentioned the autopilot. What gets you to jump off sides? What gets you to jump off sides is that there's something feels different on a Saturday game day than how you prepare over the course of the week. And so then you look at it from a coaching standpoint, okay, what are we failing to do over the course of the week to make Saturdays feel so different than the game? How can you be on autopilot all week and still perform to a certain level that we feel like we can put you in a game, and all of a sudden you get in the game and it feels different and it looks different. It's a little bit of guesswork, right, if you're trying to get off the ball as opposed to being disciplined that way. I think it speaks to focus. Same thing goes in some of the fits that we had early. Guesswork. I assume. Sometimes preparation gets you in the way. Well, the chief play they run out of this set is this. Okay, well, it might not be that. And so we have to have respect for our opponent that they're preparing for us, and then they may make adjustments, and simply we just need to, just focus on our rules and execute that way. So a lot of the stuff, backers blitzing and running into defensive linemen. Okay, well, you look at that. That's the first third down of the game. We run right back in the back of a defensive lineman. Well, that's guesswork. That's saying, well, I can't trust my preparation. I'm going to have to cheat the drill on this one in order to go sack a quarterback. Again, what are we doing in practice to make guys feel like come game day, that they somehow have to cheat to get great get off, or they have to cheat and guess a play, or they have to leave early on a pressure. What are we doing wrong as coaches to make them feel that way? And then as players, what are we on autopilot? I keep coming back to that. There's game reps, and then there's game reps, and then there's mental reps in the meeting room. There's no such thing as in between. And so if we're adding some layer to this thing in preparation, then you're going to see the type of performance that we've been having. So we got to get it fixed.
Ryan Chapman.
Yeah, Bill knocked that, Alex. Is that something that at some point that just falls to the players, to the leadership, to make sure that you're coming to practice every day? Like how do you, 9 weeks into the season, basically throw a wrench into that to shake that up, to make sure you get the response you need?
Well, I mean, it's embarrassing as a coach. I mean, it's an indictment against us as coaches to make a small claim in the regard that the players need to do something. It's our responsibility. We look at it through the lens of we're not responsible for outcomes. We're responsible for the people that are responsible for outcomes, which that's a tremendous task as a coach, but that's why you're the coach, right? And so we look at it through that lens. And so no, we don't sit there and look at the players and say, go be better. We look at it from a coaching standpoint. Okay, how can we inspire and motivate them to have a better Tuesday practice? But I've been trying. Okay, well, it's a results business. I can tell you I try. We don't get judged based on effort. I've been working really hard. You can write that down. The coach has been working really hard. That's not how this thing goes, right? We're not getting the outcomes. We're not getting the results. I'll go back to we're getting the outcomes. We're winning football games, and obviously want to credit the kids for getting that done too. But we're not playing to any level of standard. So that's on us as coaches. What can we do different? What's the messaging? We're not reading the room the right way, which obviously we're not. I've done a really poor job with this group. Mismanaged maybe the mental makeup of them, maybe, and so all those things you look at from a coaching standpoint, and again, so you encourage their behavior to change, and ultimately responsible for their behaviors to change. But I think we're a good group of guys, and we got to get it out of them.
Okay, time for just a couple more. Lee Benson.
Coach, Coach Riley said that he watched the tape on the plane back, and after watching the tape, he thought you have to be a little closer than maybe we think that you guys are. And there's just errors, particularly in the passing game, when easy yards are there. And he also said at one point that sometimes you guys are serving it up on a silver platter for these offenses. And so I'm curious, these errors that Coach is talking about, I'm sure you're seeing as well. 9 weeks into a season, are they really that fixable at this point, knowing that you guys don't have a whole lot of time? You got a bye coming up, but you mentioned earlier that, hey, the scheme's in. got to play better. How fixable are they really?
No, 1,000% they're fixable. They absolutely are. Now, if you look at it and say, okay, you got 4 starters out on defense. You look at, okay, are we, number one, as a coaching staff, am I looking at my practice time saying, okay, we're down 4 guys, we can't lose 5 and 6. So are we practicing in a certain way that we're too tentative? And I accuse myself of that. You come off of a COVID year where we should be, I feel like an expert at trying to jockey, getting through practices and making sure guys are still prepared, the necessary amount of work, not too much that you put them at risk. 9 straight weeks, and again, you feel like you're an expert. I'm clearly not, right? That's the proof where we find ourselves right now. 3 which of those guys are on the secondary, where we can't lose another secondary player, or we spend too much focus on that. Some true freshmen that got to step up, and then at the same time that true freshman steps up, why is that senior leader not leading? And why are we not playing better at that particular spot? Or are we pointing fingers throughout the course of the game? Inevitably, if you blame someone else, they have a tendency to kind of be on the wrong side of the next time out. And so some of that has taken place. I think, like I mentioned, some guesswork at times, and maybe that's guys trying to be too perfect. And so it's everything. When you play bad football, it looks like bad football. When you play good football, it looks like good football. But no, I think it absolutely is fixable. But you got to go do it. You've got to do it on stacked days over the course of the week. You got to make sure that you're motivated to play your best football on Saturdays. You got to make sure that you have a resolve that one play doesn't turn into 2. It's all those things. You got to believe something good's going to happen. You got to believe that most importantly that you're going to go make something good happen, and you're going to do it within the structure of the scheme. You're going to do it with effort. No, I think we're extremely confident that 1, it's fixable, and 2, we'll get it fixed.
Barry?
Yeah, Alex. Your defense has sort of been on an incline trajectory since you got here until the last 2 or 3 weeks, then all of a sudden. Has this ever happened to you before, where you're on your path, then all of a sudden you're derailed? And how frustrating was it, and if compared to, say, right now?
Well, I think a lot of times that derailment comes with a loss in the loss column. And so it looks different, it feels different, the sense of urgency might be different in the individual that you're talking to. Trying to fix issues after a win, in theory, is the best scenario for you, because you can approach the guys in a certain way. Sometimes after a loss, you're in a situation where you're trying to mend fences and trying to make the morale a certain way. And so what should be an advantage, because you do get the outcome that you want. But at the same token, I think maybe as you're always trying to learn as a coach, is you look at it through the lens, but because you do get the outcome, does that drive a behavior that leads to the next poor performance? I use the example with the guys, if you don't study very well for a test, but you still pass it, does that drive a behavior saying, well, this is all I need to do to go past the next test, and eventually it catches up to you? That's a simple analogy, and it sounds really good, but there's something to that. And so I think that's probably the biggest difference. A freshman in our program's never lost a football game. You're trying to explain to them, and they're looking at you, winning's fun. So for a lot of these guys, it's been a long time. And so then you look at it, are you going to have to go down that road to make an impact? I think we're good enough coaches, clearly have not performed to that point to give credit or any credence to that statement. But we're good enough coaches to fix it during wins. But winning is a softener, and we got to do a better job of getting these guys to perform to a higher standard, not just be content with getting an outcome.
That's all we have time for. Thank you.
All right, thank you.